welcome to tonight's class. This is flow and roll for walkers, hikers, and we are doing this class for mental health. So for the one movement for the Black Dog Foundation. So you will need a block and 2 balls for tonight's practice. We're going to start by actually sitting on our bottoms and extending the legs out in front. So I want you to just flex and point your toes and just notice how that feels through your body. And if there's any tension anywhere in the legs. Okay? So in one movement, it's about walking. So tonight's class is definitely focused on our legs and our hips, even though we will touch base on some other parts of the body. So with the balls, we're going to just start on one leg. So we'll start on the right leg first. We're going to gently just bring the ball underneath our foot. And we're going to start at the top of our toes, so like through our toes, the base of our toes. We're going to just gently roll across the toes. And we're going to roll our way down, back and forth, all the way down towards the heel. And then you're going to roll all the way back up. You're going to roll. And if there's any juicy spots, like sometimes the instep can be nice and juicy, you can actually bring the ball on the side of the foot and roll on that side of the foot. Or you can roll on the outside of the foot. And we really need our feet for our foundation for walking. So coming over the front of that foot. And then from here, we're going to just gently rotate that ankle and then just wiggle those toes. A nice release. And then from here, we're moving to the back of the calf. So from the back of the calf, you will find that there's a muscle that like basically the Achilles tendon. So that's near where your ankle is on either side. We want to come up from that. And I normally say 2 or 3 fingers from that sort of edge of your heel where the malleolus is. You're going to come up. So where you start to feel your calf. So if you point and flex, you put your hand on the back of your calf, you can feel where it flexes. And then you're going to place the ball in there. And then just gently roll from either side across. And you might find that if you get a juicy spot, you might choose to just rest your other leg on top and notice the thighs pressure downwards. But if the rolling's pretty good, you can just roll. And what you want to do as the ball does not roll upwards, you just gently move it along in increments. And you just gently roll through as you go. And then you roll. And you're working your way up the calf. And if you find those really nice juicy spots, you can also point and flex the foot. That's a really nice way of helping to release that. You keep the ball still and just a gentle point and flex through. Not sure if you can see it on as you're moving down. And then you just keep rolling. And we want to stop at the top of the calf. So we're not moving to the back of the knee. So you're going to just keep rolling until you get to the top. And for some people, you might find, like I've been doing a lot of walking, I've done 50 kilometers so far, and it's really tight through the top of the calf. So I'm going to move through and let that sit on those spots. And that's when I flex and point the foot to actually help release that muscle. And then getting into that roll. Oh. Everyone's cool. And then you want to stop before the back of the knee. So we're not going to go on the back of the knee. If you do want to do that at home, you want to use like a 20 centimeter Pilates ball because it can be quite tight in there, and also there's lots of little areas in there that we don't want to roll with such a hard roll. Then we're going to come to above the back of the knee into the hamstring. Now this one you may actually need your block. You may find that you bring the ball on the block and you're going to roll from side to side. You might find that you don't want the block, you can pop it down and move it. But I find that sometimes because there's through quite big muscles in there, it's nice to actually have the block and just get a little bit higher. You can bend the knee, you can move. You can always, even as long as the hands are okay, you can lift a bit and actually move through the leg and roll down. But obviously that's a little bit more activity. Roll down. And then when you get to a bit higher, you're going to bring the ball along the side. You take the block out and then roll. And then when you start to get towards the top, you're going to feel your seat bones. So if you take the ball out for a minute, you can actually rock onto those seat bones and you feel those seat bones there. And if you feel underneath, you can feel where the bone comes down and you want to come in just before that. It can be a bit tender. You'll often know when you get that one, yep, your face will be a bit like, oh. I often put both balls in either side, but it's sometimes if you're a bit tight through the legs, it's better to just do one side so that you can lean away from it and only apply enough pressure that you can actually feel that movement through the ball, right, and through the hamstring. And this is where most people get quite tight through the legs. Our hamstrings can get quite tight and that affects our lower back. If you're walking and you feel a bit sore through there. You can point and flex a few times. You can wiggle your bum. That nice little rocking sensation. You're all good, you're all not. I'm here. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. So you do get a bit of a wiggle, you can do it nice and slow. And then just release. And just gently folding forward and just noticing if there's any tension on that leg that you've just rolled. Often you'll find that the side that you've just rolled out will be a little bit less tight than the other side. You can point and flex the feet here. And then you're going to see the front of the shins. You're going to come down. As you look at your knee on the outside, you're going to run your hand down. There's going to be a little groove as it runs down, and then it starts to dissipate as you get to the lower part of the shin. So you want to stick that ball in that groove, and you just gently bend the knee and place the ball in. And just gently allow pressure to come down onto it. So you might pop your arm on your leg. You might not find there's as much with the tennis ball, but somehow you go. If you feel like it's not quite enough, you can use yeah. And then just coming off and then just move it down the groove. Now some of you might not find this is tight, so you can rock a little bit back and forth. If you are hiking or you are running, these will often get tight. This is where the shin, the muscle in the front of the shin can get quite tight. And it's a really nice way of releasing that. the hold and pin. So we're basically just applying pressure downwards. If you're not sure where the glute is, let me know. But normally if you've got tight muscles through that shin bone, this will be quite tender, and it seems, you know, quite an easy thing to do. But as you work down the leg, if you have any issues with your ankles, with your knees, with your feet, it's really beneficial to release this, because we'll be surprised at how much tension we hold in the front of that shin bone. And you can work all the way down along the leg. So I like to think about lifting the leg, place it down, move the ball each time I go down. And you can spend a bit longer in each spot. If you do this at home, if you are really sore, if you've got some really sore trigger points. And I move pretty much until we get to like the ankle bone, okay? Now, if you have any injuries to the ankle bone, then you might stop a little bit earlier. And you might find that, you know, you find a really juicy spot that you go, okay, I'm just going to go back to that one spot. And you'll move just up again to that one spot. And just release. And just give it a little bit of a rock from side to side, rolling that ankle, and just noticing how that feels. And then just gently folding forward and just noticing how that feels through that forward fold. You might find that that leg that you've rolled is a little bit more free. Just take a few deep breaths in that roll forward. You can point and flex the feet. And just observe if one side is a little bit tighter than the other. And then from here, we're going to move to the other side. So take the ball, we're going to start at the feet. We're going to rock through the feet, starting at the ball of our foot, and going across the foot. You can even use your hand on your foot to apply pressure downwards if you want to. You can roll across, but sometimes you can lose them. You roll all the way down. You roll all the way to the heel. You might roll up and down along the foot, across the foot. And I always suggest to people that, you know, if it's the one thing you do every day is roll out your feet, it's really beneficial because most of the meridian lines in your body do end up in your feet. And it will give you energy, it will keep you functioning right. It helps stimulate the whole body because in reflexology, the feet often represent parts of your body. So if you take 5 minutes to roll your feet out every day, we spend a lot of time on our feet. We need to give them a little bit of love and care. Once you've done that, you can move to the back of the calf. And for those that may have any issues with their ankle, the way I do the ankle is I take the ball and I run it around the ankle bone. So I don't actually roll by putting pressure on. I just gently roll with my hands around the bone. And you can do the same thing with your feet. You can roll into your feet as well. You can roll along the top. And then if you do the outside, you just turn the leg in, and again, you roll around. I'll send it back forward. You can roll the outside of the foot. Sometimes that's really nice as well. And then we move to the calf again. We're missing the Achilles tendon. We're going to gently roll across. All the way along, back and forth through the calf. You might find that one side is definitely tighter than the other. I always find that one leg is a little bit tighter than the other. Again, if you want to find that nice juicy spot, you can always rest one leg on top and apply pressure downwards. You just keep working by moving it along. If you find tight spots, you might spend a bit more time rolling there. Rolling back and forth. Again, we stop before the knee, the back of the knee, feel. And then you move to the back of the thigh. You might choose to pop it on to the block and roll a little bit more height. Some of you might not need that. You might just choose to rest onto the hand and roll back and forth. You might roll across. And you're going to roll all the way along the thigh, the back of the hamstring, and then until you get to the top, you feel the seat bones again. And you can feel pop the ball in just before the seat bone, that connection where the hamstrings come into the seat bone. And you can sit up straight on it, or you can just slightly lean and then apply pressure, slightly lean and apply pressure. And just gently let the pressure come on. If it is a bit tight, like you can just let yourself sit and breathe into the muscle and the ball being stimulating that pressure. And sometimes you might even apply downward pressure and just lift yourself up enough that you can rock your bottom from side to side so that the ball runs over the top of those hamstring muscles. It can feel a bit weird if they're a bit tight, but it's really, I think if you're walking a lot, it really makes a big difference to roll those out. And if you are a bit tight. This works for runners and it works for horse riders, anyone that does a sport that actually will tighten those hamstrings. Yeah. And pretty much most sports will tighten them. So we always have to like loosen them up. And then once you get to the top, release it out and just gently folding forward, feeling that stretch. And you might be surprised at how much more forward you come if tension is what stops you from coming forward. And if you do feel tight in the back of the legs, you might find it gives you a little bit less. And then from here, we're going to find where our knee is. We come down, we find that groove on the shin bone. Most of the time, if you from the outside, so I find I come from the kneecap to the left of the kneecap, and I find that groove. You can find that nice big juicy muscle, and then gently apply pressure downwards. Sometimes one side can definitely be a bit tighter. For me, it's definitely a little bit tighter on this side for sure. And, you know, when you're rolling these out, like you may find you don't do this whole sequence where you do the whole leg, but you might find that if you are hiking or you're walking, your feet get sore because of the shoes you wear, or if you're not used to doing longer distances of hiking, you'll find the muscles on the outside of the shin bones will get quite tight. And you know, it's worth releasing them because that fascial chain runs all the way up the body. It can affect the rest of your body. So by loosening through the legs, you are helping other parts of your body be more mobile. And we pretty much use our legs for so much, like not just walking, but even like lifting things. We'll bend our knees and lift stuff. And just work our way down. And then gently release that. Just point and flex the feet. You can roll through the ankles, might take the legs wide, and just let yourself reach, come into that forward fold, and then just gently come back up and point the toes and then come down, come back up. So we have one more roll before we move into our flow sequence where we're going to stretch our legs a little bit and work. So we're going to come to the quads at the front of the thigh. So we want to find, as we come up, we're going to find basically the middle of the thigh, okay? And then from here, we'll gently lie onto those balls. Now, this can be a little bit intense if they're hard balls, and you're going to just let yourself sink on top of it. And I find for me, I tuck my toes underneath and I gently just roll up and then I push my upper body back. Now, if it's really tight, you just let yourself sit, right? Just pop them in place and let yourself rest. You might rest on your forearms and you might just gently move your bottom from side to side to get a little bit of wiggle. If you want more, you might come onto those forearms, tucking those toes and actually pull the upper body up so the balls roll down, and then you push your upper body back so that you roll down and they go up and down the thighs. Now that's quite intense. Some people, this will be too much for you. Now, if silicone balls is too much when you've got your whole body weight on, you might use tennis balls, okay? And you're going to stop at the top of the thigh. We're not working into the groin at all. You can, but we're not doing that today. And you might find a juicy spot in the quads, and you might just gently move the hips from side to side. And that will help to move the ball from side to side, cross-fibering the muscle through the quads. We don't do it too fast and we don't do it too deep. If you feel any sort of pain sensation other than like tension, we try and just breathe into it. If it is a really sharp pain, then we obviously come out. And you can just work along. I find you can be like a little caterpillar a little bit and move back and forth to find those spots. And some of you might find you need to move them a little bit towards the outside of the thigh because the balls will roll inward. You move them to the outside, and again, you're wiggling the bottom or you're tucking the toes and moving up the outside. And you could spend a fair bit of time doing this if you're a runner or if you've worked your quads leg day. The other option is bending the knees and bending up and down. And sometimes that just allows to activate the legs. And that gives you a nice sensation where the balls are pinned. This is not for everyone. Sometimes even rocking a little bit the knees from side to side gives you a different pressure on, pressure off, pressure on, pressure off. And then gently you're coming off the balls and moving back, as long as the knees are okay, moving back into a child's pose. If the knees are not okay, you can roll onto your back and draw the knees into the chest. And take a few deep breaths here. And then slowly coming up onto the knees. Now, if you need to support the knees, pop a nice thick blanket under the knees. And we're going to take our leg behind us and just flex and roll through that ankle. Then slowly step it forward in between the hands. You're going to sink into that lunge and just gently move the hips back. So if you find that hard, you can use your block to give you a little bit more support. And you can rock forward and rock back. You can rock forward and rock back. And just getting that nice movement through the legs. So we're trying to lock the muscles. And then as long as the knee's okay, you're going to move yourself back onto your bottom. So if the knee's not okay, you're going to sit onto your bottom and then draw that right knee back. And from here, we're going to gently fold forward. Reaching towards, so it's on the outside, And then you're going to reach backwards. So you're not going to go all the way down. Now, if you are flexible and you know you can go all the way back, you're welcome to, but you want to just feel the stretch on that right knee. Yeah? Some of you might even come to a bolster to get that stretch, but only enough that you feel stretch in the thigh, right? And then gently moving forward, release that leg out, pointing it forward. We're going to fold again forward. And then slowly come back up. Swing the leg out and back behind you. We're going to slowly extend that right leg out. We roll that ankle, point and flex the foot. And then slowly step that right foot forward in between the hands. And from here, we're going to gently move the weight back and forward so that you're coming into that lunge and then also allowing the head to drop down so that you're flossing through that whole back chain and working into those hip flexors at the front. So with walking, we need to mobilize those hips and really feel the stretch into those hip flexors. You move back and forth. And then as long as the knee on the left side is okay, you can move yourself back from this position back down. Otherwise, you're going to move onto your bottom and then bend the left leg back. From here, you lengthen through the torso and just folding forward. You feel that stretch in to that leg, right leg. And then lift the hands up, bring the arms over and back behind you. And again, you're going to reach back until you feel the stretch on the thigh. And so you can drop back onto those forearms. Some people are going to use the bolster, maybe behind their back. You might even drop all the way back. And some of you might even be able to drop all the way to the floor. If that feels good as well, take a few breaths there. And then you can release that leg out, coming all the way back up and folding forward into that forward fold. You're taking the toes and drawing back, feeling that nice stretch into the hip. From here, we're going to slowly slide onto our bottom. Take your balls again, and you lift the hips up and place the balls in on your buttocks, so in the fleshy part of your buttocks, and place the soles of the feet together. So your knees are going outwards. And you're just going to take a few deep breaths here. Allow the weight of your body to sink down onto the balls, and let the opening through the front of the hips and the stretch into the inner groin. If you want to add some for your upper body, you can take your arms above your head, or you can cross the arms over your chest to allow yourself to soften through the upper body as well. And then if it's not too bad in the glutes, you can always lift the knees and then slowly bring them out. So like you're butterflying, lifting the knees up and then taking them out. So that is a way to work into those glutes and stimulate the piriformis as well, depending on where your balls are. And you may need to adjust your balls. There should be no bone underneath, so not on the sacrum, which is a fused bone at the base of your spine. It's either side of that in that fleshy part of your buttock. And if having your knees open doesn't work for you, you can always have your feet on the floor and you can just gently rock the knees from side to side. So that is another option where it's pressure on, pressure off for the glutes. And then slowly lift the hips and remove the balls from underneath you. And you're going to take your block. So if there's any lower back pain, any bulging discs or anything of the sort, you're going to place the block on the flat side. Okay? If you are more flexible through your hips and no issues with your back, you may want to turn it on its side. It's on the side. I'm going to demo with the block flat. And as long as the back feels okay, you can extend the legs out. From here, we're going to bring the left knee in. And just gently circle that left knee. So we're working to release the hip flexor on the right side and through the front of the hip. And you can just bring the knee to stillness and draw back in. Let yourself release that left leg and draw the right knee in. So again, if that feels okay, you can circle that right knee. Maybe gently bring the knee in towards the chest. And then release the legs out and just take a breath or two here with the legs extended. You can always extend the arms if you want a bit more. And slowly bend the knees and lift the hips up. And let your lower back drop towards the floor and let your knees come into the chest. Again, we're rocking from side to side, just releasing the lower back into the mat. And just noticing how the legs feel. And then from here, you can rock and roll along the side, or if you prefer, you can rock off to the side and come up to a seated position. Bring the soles of the feet together and then just gently folding forward. And take a few deep breaths. Now, what we're trying to work on is to get to the inner thighs this time. So you may find to get a better stretch, you bring the feet closer in. You want to feel that stretch into the groin, okay? If you are really quite open through this, you might find this doesn't give you too much. You can take the feet wider and it might give you a bit more. Those that might work. If you're already tucked in towards the groin, you can bring the feet out wider and that will give you a little bit more through there. And then slowly bring the feet to the floor, bring your hands behind your back and let the knees move from side to side. And then slowly bring them back to center and move over onto your hands and knees. Spreading the fingers nice and wide, we gently tuck the toes, we lift the hips, and we slowly come into our downward dog. And we're going to pedal the feet. We're going to pedal, bending one knee and straightening the other leg. And then just switching to the other side. We're going to just feel that gentle walking of the feet and feeling the back of those hamstrings. And if they are really tight, you might stretch into them by really bending one knee and straightening the other, and then going to the other side. Now, if the hands get sore, you can slowly walk the hands back towards your feet and let yourself dangle. You can fold the elbows. Then you can bend one knee and rock, straightening the hamstring if the downward dog is too much for you. Now everyone can walk their hands back towards the feet. Just slowly come up and gently bend one knee, straighten the other. And you're rocking between the hips, getting that nice stretch through. And then bring it back to stillness and slowly roll up. Then from here, we're going to take our right foot forward, about halfway along the mat, so not too wide. We're going to lift those arms up and then folding forward, keeping the legs straight. Work all the way down until we feel that stretch in the leg. You might use your block on the inside of the foot. You can bring it down to the floor. You might be up on the knee, depending how tight you are. You take a few deep breaths here. Then slowly coming up, shimmy that foot forward and sink into the warrior one. Nice deep breath here. You feel that back leg's nice and straight. And releasing. Straightening that front leg. You're going to shimmy out even further. Good. And then reach out to the right. Bring your right hand down. Left hand comes up. And into that Trikonasana, triangle pose. Nice deep breath. You can always bring that block to the inside of the leg. Nice stretch through. And then slowly coming back up and bending into that front knee, coming into that warrior two. Nice deep breath. Hold here. Straightening that leg. I'm going to pivot to the side. So you're going to bring your feet as level as they can get to each other. And we're going to fold forward. Now, if you can't touch the floor, you might use your block. But we are going to take, you might want the block anyway, because you're going to walk your hands out and do a nice wide-legged style with it. So you might feel the stretch into the leg. Nice deep breath here. And then slowly walk the hands back. And it might bend the knee slightly to come back up. Or you come all the way back up. And you're going to step to the back of your mat. Roll the shoulders. Moment here into Dasana and take a nice deep breath. And then you're going to step your left foot forward. Keeping both legs straight, lengthen through the torso, reaching up, and then folding forward nice and slowly, hinging at the hips. You want to feel that stretch on the legs, so you might use a block, or you might bring it to the knee, to the calf, to the shin. And some of you who are a bit more bendy, you might rock the head towards the knee and walk the hands back towards the back foot. And then slowly coming back up. You're going to shimmy that foot forward and gently bend into that front knee. Take a nice deep breath here. And shimmy that foot a little bit further. Bring that left hand forward. And you're going to reach out to the left, keeping that front leg straight. That left hand down, that right arm up. Coming into Trikonasana on this side. And then slowly coming back up. Gently bend into that front knee. Coming into that warrior two. Nice and strong. And straightening that leg. Pivot to the side. And again, we're going to come forward into that forward fold. And again, you can use your block. You can be without a block. Let the head drop down into that wide-legged down again. And then slowly walk the hands back. Coming back up. And you might go to the back of the neck. Just roll those shoulders. Take a moment. You're going to take your feet as wide as the mat now. Now this, you might want to have your block at the back in case you need to sit on it, but it's coming down into Malasana. We're going to gently bend our knees, coming into that squat. If you don't like squatting, you can always have the block. You can rest yourself onto the block. That gives you a little bit of support if you want. You're working a little bit through the hips. You can drop the head, bring the hands forward. Just a few breaths here. And then slowly moving onto your knees, you're going to slide yourself all the way forward. So if you do have any back issues, you might rest your head onto your hands, or you might use your bolster and pop it underneath your chest. We're going to slide our right leg up along the mat. So we want to feel that stretch in the inner groin. So if you don't quite feel it, you might even use your block. You might pop it underneath your knee, but that may give you too much pressure on your back, depending how that feels. I'm just going to take a few deep breaths here. Now, depending how that's feeling, if you feel like it's enough stretch for you, if it's not, and you want to work the hips and the other leg, you can bend the left leg up and work on the quad at the same time. So this is a hip opener. It opens through the groin, through the inner thigh, and on the bent leg, it works the quad. So this one's a really good one if it's like one pose that you remember from the class or hiking. This one kind of does all of them. The same with like Trigonasana. And release, sliding that right leg back. If you need to, you can move into a child's pose. You can take rest for a moment, or you can rest your head and just let your knees move from side to side. And if you're feeling pretty good, you might already start to come to the other side. You're going to slide that left leg up along the mat. Again, you can do that variation. You can have the block, a bolster underneath. You might just gently bend the right leg to work on the quad as well. And then release, sliding that leg back down. And from here, you can either rest and just move. If you need to, you can move straight into a child's pose, or you can even roll onto your back and draw the knees into the chest, depending on how your body is feeling, how your legs are feeling, how your hips are feeling. You might move back into that child's pose. Take a few deep breaths here. And then for our last posture, we're coming onto our knees. One of our last postures. And if you have any knee issues, you can pop a blanket underneath. If you have any lower back issues, you're going to stay at this first position with the hands on the hips. You're going to take your knees as wide as comfortable, not too wide, but wide enough. You're going to move your hips forward. You feel a little back bend here. So if any lower back pain, you're going to hold through and not go too far. You're working the hips forward. You should feel the stretch in the front of the thigh, right? That's the one. And if you are more bendy, you can always drop back onto the heels. You can untuck the toes as well. But I mean, whatever feels right for your body. And then release and slowly move onto the back. And you're going to gently let the knees come in towards the chest. And we'll slide our hands up the inside of our legs and reach towards the ankles or the instep of the foot and draw the knees down. So it's like you're squatting on the ceiling, getting that nice drawing down into a happy baby. Some people might like to extend the legs and hold the toes or hold the ankles, depending on what feels better for you. And then release, placing the feet onto the floor. We slide the right leg out along the neck. Let our left knee come in towards the chest and draw that left knee across the body. So coming into that twist, and you should feel that twist into the lower part of the body, maybe into the buttocks, maybe into that lower part of the back. Some of you might feel it into the shoulders, depending on how deep a twist you take. And coming back to the center, and both knees come in, and just finding that neutral position for the lower back. And then letting the left leg come out along the mat and drawing the right knee now across the body. Again, you're feeling that stretch into the right buttocks, into that lower back, maybe into the hip back. And let your right hand drop back towards the floor. And feel the breath move down into the belly. Come back to the center. And just placing the feet onto the ground. And gently lift the hips up for a few moments. And that bridge pose. And always let the arms come over the head. That feels good. And then slowly roll down vertebrae by vertebrae until you feel your back release into the ground. You can take your bolster and pop it underneath your knees and set yourself. Just take a few moments to find a place for you to rest. You might extend all the way through the legs, pointing the toes, and then slowly soften and let the legs relax. You might wiggle the toes and roll the ankles. Right. Just point and flex. Help the legs soften and release. You might wiggle the hips, shrug the shoulders, and just feel your body being supported by the earth. Letting all the muscles soften through the body. You take a few moments to feel the muscles through the feet, through the ankles, through the calves, through the shins, the knees, the thighs, the hamstrings, the buttocks, the front of the hip, the lower back, the lower belly, through the rib cage, mid back, front of the chest, upper back, through the shoulders. You might shrug the shoulders gently, through the upper arms, the elbows, the forearms, the wrists and the fingers. Feel the body be supported by the mat, by the floor. And let yourself soften and release any tension that may still be present. Feel the breath gently moving in and out. And just let your muscles be allowed to relax. Take a nice deep breath in. And gently sigh the breath out. Let your focus gently scan the body. And let some movement come back in. As you moving through the feet, moving through the fingers, rolling through the wrists. Let slowly bend the knees. And gently rolling to the side. Let your eyes open. Take a nice deep breath here. And slowly make your way up to a seated position that's comfortable for you. You can roll through the shoulders and let the head move from side to side. Take one more deep breath in and out. Thank you for joining me tonight, and thank you very much for contributing to mental health. Namaste.